Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I wanted to do a lesson on something that I was meditating on. Dealing with how the Lord communicates with us, right? How the Lord talks with us in this time, right now, even in contrast with how the Lord spoke to us in past times in the ancient world, which at times was more obvious, right? Was more overt, whether it was by the prophets hearing the Lord, or by an angel, or visions, and so on. Now, in today's time, we still receive visions and dreams, but not as as commonly, right, or on the same depth, right, as the times of old. But the Lord still speaks to us, right? The Lord still speaks to us today. He shows us signs. He directs us. And as the scriptures say, that man's goings are of the Lord. That's through the Lord directing our paths. And there are often times when the Lord speaks, but people just don't listen. And then they turn around and say, "Oh, the Lord doesn't, the Lord doesn't speak, or the Lord doesn't do this." But it was that you weren't listening. And it's so easy for you to get caught up in that today because of the life of distraction that we live, right? You're always doing something, or you always have to do something, whether it's things that are just solely like responsibilities, or things that are leisure or pleasure, whatever it may be. There's always something that we have to do that has our minds occupied. But sometimes it's good to just relax, just calm your mind, and just have some quiet, or have some peace, and just be around nature for a bit. But that might not be for everybody. Okay, nonetheless, the Lord does show us certain things, and it may be through using other people at times. It may be through a friend, a relative, a coworker, somebody you may know. And it doesn't necessarily mean that whoever this person is, that all of a sudden they're some prophet of the Lord or some super vessel of the Lord. But remember, the Lord is the Father of spirits. And so we're all subject to the Lord, meaning that the Heavenly Father can put the Spirit on somebody to say something for that split second, whether it's a question, or whether it's a thought, an emotional response, something. And that's the signal to you that whatever it is that you're planning or thinking, maybe is the good thing to do, maybe it's not the good thing to do. But the Lord shows you these things. And if you're spiritual, when you look with your spiritual eyes and you listen with your spiritual ears, you'd be able to view, see, and decipher these things. And sometimes the Lord shows you signs through events, through things that happen to you, or things that you go through. And it's difficult, right? It's difficult, especially if it's something painful or uneasy, or something that weighs heavily on the mind. It's difficult to not get caught up in what you're actually going through, and to look at the bigger picture. Why are you going through it? What is it that you're going through, and how did that come about? Analyzing the spiritual aspect behind it. Sometimes that's difficult because of whatever the case may be. But at times it is necessary. Okay? And we have to be more in that mindset of being listening to the Lord, like Eli told Samuel, because Samuel kept hearing the Lord calling him, right? Samuel, Samuel. And Eli told him how to basically listen to the Lord, how to respond when the Lord calls you. Now, we're not in the case where the Lord is like literally calling out our name and you can hear it, but we're in so if you look at Samuel's case as symbolic, Samuel responded, right, as a servant would to his master, ready to do his master's will. So when the Lord calls our name through the signs he shows us, we have to be ready to respond to what it is that the Lord is calling us for. Because sometimes the Lord calls our name and it's to show us something, right? It's to tell us something, or deter us from something. And we have to, have our minds open our spiritual eyes open to listen to that and not just shrug it off because you're distracted by things or you're putting it off from day to day. Now, there's a precept here that I wanted to get in the book of Job, the 33rd chapter. Yeah, Job 33:14. It says, "For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not." Okay, and just focusing and highlighting on this verse now more so than ever. Now, because the world has conditioned people to think without a spiritual mind, as to where things in the ancient world, sometimes you would see something or hear something, and the way they viewed it and interpreted it was tied to the spirit. Like there was a meaning behind it, right? Oh, maybe the Lord is unhappy, or maybe this is the case, and this is what we ought to do. But in today's society, that's not the case anymore, right? Today's society, the world has stripped away the spirituality of a lot of people. So they don't perceive when the Lord is calling them. They don't perceive when the Lord is warning them. They don't perceive when the Lord is trying to show them to either do something or to stay away from something. And all these things. And then what ends up happening is it isn't until you find yourself in a bad position or in a calamitous event, then you look back retrospectively and then you start to see the signs. Oh, now the patterns are very clear to you. Oh man, this is why this didn't happen. This is why the Lord said, "Oh, this is why I kept seeing this. I should have done this. I should have done that." Yeah, you should have. But that the world doesn't teach you to think like that. They'll make it seem like, "Oh, you're just paranoid." You know, no, that's just you. You're just in your own head. No, go ahead and do it anyway. That's just the like low doubt that's coming into your mind. No, sometimes it's not doubt. Sometimes it's warnings. Sometimes you tried one thing and it's not working. Then you improvise that thing to try and do it another way, and that's still not working. And then instead of stopping and analyzing, wait, hold on. Yeah, I've tried this maybe 2 or 3 times already, and it's not working. Is this something I really got to do? Let me hold on. Let me try the boat. It's an inside joke, but let me hold on 1 second and really analyze what's going on here. Right? You pray. Yep, Salakia, I had a quick call. But as I was saying, long story short, not to make it a long lesson, but being able to see, the signs that the Lord shows you, in your life requires you to have your spiritual eyes open at all times, right? There, yes, we all go through things. You get headaches, you get migraines from the stress of this world, even though it's temporary. It still affects you, right? Because we're in this world. But you can't let that get to the point where when the Lord starts to show you things, you don't see it or you become oblivious to it. And there are many reasons for that. Maybe you're too preoccupied, you're too busy, you're not training up your spirit, right? You're indulging too much in the flesh, and therefore that changes your habits, right? The things that you spend more time doing, um, they strengthen or please your flesh more than they strengthen your spirit. You're gonna start to feel the effects of that, right? Your spiritual senses they're not gonna be as sharp as before. Your spiritual appetite is not gonna be as intense as before, right? You're gonna start to feel like everything is a drag, like I gotta do this now. I'm just doing it, to go through the motions, or I'm just doing it because that's just what I gotta do, rather than being hungry for it. And that's when you start to slip into that lukewarm state, which is a very, very dangerous state to be in. And what makes it more dangerous is the fact that you might not see that you're in a lukewarm state because you're adjusting to it. As you degrade, you adjust with it and you think that's still normal, but you know that it's not. Deep down inside of you, somewhere you know it's not, or the Lord shows you the signs that it's not. Whether it's through another brother speaking to you and trying to exhort you to like, yo, get back on how you were, or whether it's through maybe a part of you have a dream, or your spirit just is like, yo, you gotta do something. Whatever the case may be, those are signs from the Lord. You have to know how to discern between those different aspects, especially in this walk, because the Lord does speak to us, but it's about who's listening, because it's at different times that the Lord may speak to you in different ways. But when you truly live a spiritual life, you'll know when something is off. You'll know when the Lord is trying to tell you something, because you don't look at things in the carnal sense, even though they're happening in the carnal world and they're affecting you physically. You don't look at it and interpret it in a carnal sense or with a carnal mind. You look at it from a spiritual standpoint. You look at things that have happened in the past. You look at how the Lord operates. You look at how your relationship is with the Lord, and then you're able to piece it together and understand, okay, this is what the Lord is saying to me, or this is what the Spirit is telling me to do. And then you back that with the faith to actually do it. And that is going to be very, very crucial in these times, because as we're coming into more and more uncertain times, you won't always have a clear answer where it's just like, yeah, there's indefinite proof, right? Not indefinite, definitive proof that this is the way or this is it. Sometimes it might just be the Spirit telling you, and there's nothing carnal or tangible that says this is going to work. It's all from what you feel in your spirit, and you got to be able to trust that. Obviously guided with wisdom. It doesn't mean, the Spirit telling me let me jump off of this building. So no, that's clearly not what I'm getting at here. Okay, but to tie it in, I mean, to bring it back full circle, I was just thinking about how the Lord does speak to us, but when you have these expectations of how you expect the Lord to talk to you, just like even with Yahushua, right? You had a lot of people that thought, oh, that's the Son of God. He has to come, like the in the most grand appearance. They had expectations of how the Lord was gonna communicate with them and send the Messiah down. And when that wasn't the case, a lot of people didn't believe in him. It was a stumbling block to them because they thought the Lord would conform to their expectations. That's not the way it works. You see, so you think, oh, the Lord is Almighty, so everything He does has to be in the most action packed, fullest sense, so everybody knows. But that's not how the Lord always operates. With the case with Elijah, it said the Lord wasn't in the whirlwind, right? He wasn't in the other. I don't remember the other signs, but it said that it was a small, still voice. Right? It was a small, still voice. And if your mind is just full of chaos, how are you going to hear that small, still voice? You won't, and you'll miss it. And you don't want to find yourself in that position. So that's pretty much what I had to say, right? Keep your spiritual eyes and ears and antennas, alert, because the Lord is speaking to us, and He's going to continue to speak to us more and more and more. And it's going to be more and more evident. It's going to be more and more apparent, but you got to have the faith to believe it. All right. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying and exhorting to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachah Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.